I can't wait to see you explain this to a fucking Suffolk County jury, you fucking cocksucker. This is gonna be fucking fun.
Time, man. All right, man. Begin. Yeah.
Just
Straight out the
fucking kill me.
dungeons of rap. With fake niggas.
Just fucking kill me.
Back on.
I am killing.
Martin Scorsese, the man who gave us Goodfellas, Casino, Taxi Driver, the guy who practically rewired cinema, didn't get an Oscar until 2007. Yes, you heard that right. The master himself had to wait decades, and the movie that finally got him that golden statue? The Departed. But here's the thing, this masterpiece almost didn't happen the way we know it. I'm talking about different actors, improvised scenes that became iconic, behind-the-scenes drama, and a controversial relationship with the original film that sparked debates worldwide. So if you love The Departed as much as I do, stick around, because I'm about to blow your mind with 15 facts that'll make you see this film in a completely different light. And hey, if you're vibing with this, hit that like button and subscribe. Trust me, we've got tons more cinema deep dives coming your way. Let's get into it, and stay until the end for a bonus fact. All right, let's address the elephant in the room right from the start. The Departed is a remake of a 2002 Hong Kong film called Infernal Affairs, directed by Andrew Lau and Alan Mak. And here's what American audiences don't always realize. Globally, Infernal Affairs has a way bigger fan base than The Departed. I'm not exaggerating. Around the world, especially in Asia, Europe, and among serious international cinema lovers, Infernal Affairs is considered the superior film. It's not even close in terms of global reach and influence. The film sparked a trilogy, launched careers, and is studied in film schools worldwide. Even if the director himself, Andrew Lau, diplomatically said, "Of course I think the version I made is better, but the Hollywood version is pretty good too." That's a nice way of saying, yeah, mine's better. Now, both William Monahan, the screenwriter, and Scorsese claim they never watched Infernal Affairs before making The Departed. Whether you believe that or not is up to you. But the two films share way more than just the basic premise. The double mole concept, the cat and mouse structure, key plot beats, it's all there. But here's what's fascinating about how this remake came to be. Warner Brothers bought the rights and had a completely different version for who would star in it.
You do good in school?
Yeah.
That's good. I did too. They call that a paradox.
Picture this, it's 2005 and Warner Brothers is planning their American remake of Infernal Affairs, and guess who they want for the lead roles? Tom Cruise as Billy Costigan and Brad Pitt as Colin Sullivan. Can you even imagine? Now don't get me wrong, we all love both those guys, but come on, DiCaprio and Damon absolutely crushed these roles in ways I'm not sure Cruise and Pitt could have. What happened? Well, Brad Pitt actually stayed on as a producer because he thought he was too old for the part. Smart move, honestly. And when Scorsese came aboard, he immediately wanted DiCaprio and Damon. In fact, when the studio sent the script to both Scorsese and Leo separately, within a day DiCaprio called Marty and said, "If you're in, I'm in." And Scorsese was about to call him with the exact same message. That's kismet right there. DiCaprio even said it was one of the only screenplays he'd read where he had absolutely zero notes. It was ready to go. William Monahan's script was that good, even if it was heavily inspired by the Hong Kong original.
No ticky, no laundry.
Frank Costello isn't just some fictional mob boss. He's based on one of the most notorious criminals in American history, Whitey Bulger. Before he was captured in 2011, Bulger was second only to Osama bin Laden on the FBI's most wanted list, with a $1 million reward for his capture. Bulger ran Boston's Irish mob for decades, and his story is absolutely wild. He was also an FBI informant while running his criminal empire, which makes the whole double agent theme of The Departed even more twisted. The film takes a lot of its authenticity from this real-life connection to Boston's underworld. In fact, a former Boston police detective named Tom Duffy, who was specially assigned to the Whitey Bulger investigation, served as a technical consultant on the film. He even has a cameo playing the governor of Massachusetts. Talk about keeping it real.
Put it this way, you're a black guy in Boston. You don't need any help from me to be completely f***ed.
Speaking of Costello, that terrifying rat-loving mob boss played by Jack Nicholson was originally supposed to be Al Pacino. Scorsese had never worked with Pacino before and really wanted him for the role, but Pacino turned it down. So Scorsese set up a meeting with Nicholson and DiCaprio. And at that meeting, Jack basically said, "Look, I love you guys, but there's not enough meat on this character for me to sink my teeth into." So what did Scorsese and Leo do? They went back and completely rewrote the script to give Costello a much bigger, more menacing presence. And after reading that new draft, Nicholson was in. And thank God he said yes, because can you imagine The Departed without Jack Nicholson? Some of the most iconic moments in the film came from his performance, including one scene that was completely improvised.
I look at you, and I think, what could I use you for? Heavy lies the crown.
You know that scene where Costello pulls a gun on Costigan and gets right in his face? The one where he says, "I got this rat, this gnawing, teething rat"?
Got something you wanna ask me?
That was not in the script. Nicholson completely improvised pulling that gun on DiCaprio. Leo had no idea it was coming. Then Jack starts burning that drawing with a lighter. Also improvised.
The money, since I took Archie's milk money in the 3rd grade. Tell you the truth, I don't need pussy anymore either. But I like it.
And that entire "I got this rat" line, made up on the spot. There's also that wild scene in Costello's apartment where he's surrounded by prostitutes and throws cocaine on the bed. That was Nicholson's idea too. The guy just brought this unpredictable, dangerous energy to every scene. Scorsese says he still gets chills when Jack says that line, and DiCaprio called shooting that scene one of the most memorable moments of my life. You can see the genius shock and fear on Leo's face because that's real surprise. That's what happens when you put one of the greatest actors of all time in a room and let him cook. Before we move on, if you're loving these behind-the-scenes stories, do me a favor and smash that subscribe button. We've got so much more content like this coming, and I promise you won't want to miss it. Here's a funny one. There's a scene where Costello is wearing a New York Yankees baseball cap, but it was actually supposed to be a Boston Red Sox cap. That was Whitey Bulger's signature look. But Nicholson, being the legend he is, flat out refused to wear a Red Sox cap because he doesn't like the Boston Red Sox. So they had to change it to the Yankees. Sometimes star power means you get to rep your own team, even if it's not authentic to the character. All right, this one's gonna make you want to rewatch the entire movie frame by frame. You ready? Every single time a character's about to die in The Departed, Scorsese hides an X somewhere in the frame beforehand. I'm talking windows, carpets, tape on glass, anywhere he can sneak it in. When Costigan's at the airport, X's everywhere. When the mob throws Captain Queenan off the building, the windows have X's taped on them. And in that final scene when Sullivan comes home and Dignam's waiting for him, check the hallway carpet, X marks the spot.
Ya, hazlo.
In the opening, both Costigan and Sullivan appear with X's on the window panes overlaid on them in those mirrored tracking shots. It's foreshadowing from the very beginning. Scorsese borrowed this technique from the 1932 version of Scarface, one of his all-time favorite movies, which did the exact same thing. It's this brilliant visual foreshadowing that most people completely miss on their first watch. Speaking of Scarface, there's another homage in the film. You remember when Costello goes to the opera? He's watching Lucia di Lammermoor by Italian composer Gaetano Donizetti. In the original 1932 Scarface, whenever the main character Tony Camonte kills somebody, he whistles music from that exact same opera. Scorsese's attention to detail and his love for cinema history is just insane. Mark Wahlberg as Sergeant Dignam is absolutely hilarious and terrifying all at the same time. But did you know where he got his inspiration for that performance? Wahlberg based Dignam on the actual cops who arrested him back in the day. And get this, he even channeled his parents' shocked reactions when they had to bail him out with their grocery money. That's method acting right there, folks. Oh, and Wahlberg wasn't even the first choice for the role. Ray Liotta, who starred in Scorsese's Goodfellas, and Dennis Leary were both considered before Wahlberg got the part. Now here's the wild part. Wahlberg and Scorsese didn't exactly get along on set. Wahlberg later said, "I had problems with Marty. He was pushing me in different ways." But whatever tension existed between them clearly worked, because Wahlberg ended up being the only cast member nominated for an Oscar. His first Oscar nomination ever. Not DiCaprio, not Damon, not Nicholson, Mark Wahlberg. How's that for irony? Can you imagine The Departed with Robert De Niro? Well, it almost happened. De Niro, who's made 8 films with Scorsese, was originally asked to play either Frank Costello or Captain Queenan, but he turned down both roles because he wanted to direct his own movie, The Good Shepherd, which also starred Matt Damon. Small world, right? Martin Sheen ended up playing Queenan, and honestly, he brought such a quiet dignity to the role that it's hard to imagine anyone else in that part now. You know what's really fascinating? Scorsese has made dozens of movies, worked with the biggest stars in Hollywood, and rarely complains about the process. But The Departed? He hated making it. Marty later said, "I call The Departed moral ground zero. All the characters are killed at the end, and there was no place to go after that. I hardly did any press for that film because I was tired of it. The process of making it was highly unpleasant. I didn't care how much I'm being paid, it killed me." The production was so grueling that Scorsese ended up exhausted and ill. This is a guy who's been making movies for over 50 years, and this one nearly broke him. Maybe it's because every single main character dies. Maybe it's the darkness of the material. Maybe it was the pressure of making a beloved international film. But whatever it was, it took a toll. And yet, he made a masterpiece. That's the mark of a true artist. Scorsese's a film historian, right? The guy who knows cinema inside and out, so of course, he's going to sneak in references to the classics. Near the end of the film, when Sullivan's in the shower and Madeline plays the CD Costigan sent, watch those 3 quick shots of Sullivan turning on the water. They're exact copies of the shots from the iconic shower scene in Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho. It's Scorsese's way of tipping his hat to the master of suspense, while also foreshadowing Sullivan's impending doom. Because just like Marion Crane in Psycho, Sullivan's about to get what's coming to him. These little Easter eggs are why Scorsese's films reward multiple viewings. There's always something new to watch. You know that Rolling Stone song, "Gimme Shelter," that plays during the opening? It's the 3rd time Scorsese's used it in a gangster movie. He previously used it in Goodfellas and Casino. It's basically become his unofficial gangster theme song. And there's another Stones reference in the film. When Costigan mails that CD to Sullivan, it's housed in the case for Rolling Stones' album Exile on Main Street. Scorsese clearly loves his Stones.
I guess I can say that in many ways, whatever I do with movies and in movies began with listening to the Rolling Stones and the way that their music interacted with the world that was around me. Their songs sort of sparked sensations and images that stayed with me and that grew and changed. And that's why I wound up putting so many of their songs into my pictures over the years. In fact, my films would be unthinkable, really, without them. Mick Jagger recently said, Shine a Light was the first movie I made that does not have Gimme Shelter in it. But believe me, it wasn't for lack of trying. Mick Jagger and I have been talking about.
The Departed had a budget of $90 million, pretty standard for a big Hollywood production, right? But here's the kicker. Roughly $50 million of that went to the cast salaries. That's more than half of the budget just for DiCaprio, Damon, Nicholson, Wahlberg, Martin Sheen, and Alec Baldwin. But honestly, can you blame them? They're getting some of the best actors on the planet. That's not an expense, that's an investment. And it paid off big time. The film made $291.5 million at the box office and won 4 Oscars, including Best Picture and Best Director. Not a bad return on investment. Speaking of locations, most of the film was shot in New York City on sets, despite taking place in Boston. They did get some exterior shots in Boston, but Sullivan's fancy condo? that was actually filmed at Suffolk University Law School Library. Movie magic, folks. Here's something you probably never noticed. The title card for The Departed doesn't appear until 18 minutes into the movie. Think about that. 18 minutes. Most movies hit you with the title in the first 2 or 3 minutes, but Scorsese's so confident in his storytelling that he makes you wait. He's building the world, establishing the characters, pulling you in, and then, when you're already hooked, boom, The Departed. It's a power move, and it works perfectly. By the time that title card hits, you're already completely invested in these characters and their impossible situation. And here it goes, the bonus. We need to talk about the elephant in the room, or should I say, the rat on the balcony. After Dignam shoots Sullivan, the camera moves out the window, and we see a rat scurrying along the balcony. Then, the scene goes black. Now, some people love this ending. It's on the nose, sure, but it's also darkly funny and perfectly encapsulates the whole movie. Others think it's way too obvious and ruins an otherwise perfect ending. In fact, back in 2008, people got so worked up about it that there were actual petitions and a Kickstarter campaign to digitally remove the rat. I'm not kidding. People wanted to crowdfund the removal of a rat from a Martin Scorsese movie. Obviously, that never happened, and honestly, I love that rat. Yeah, it's not subtle, but you know what? After 2.5 hours of betrayal, murder, and moral corruption, I think we earned a little heavy-handed symbolism. So there you have it, 15 incredible facts about The Departed that just show how complex and fascinating this film's story really is. But let's be real for a second. The biggest fact of all is that The Departed is a remake of Infernal Affairs, and globally, Infernal Affairs has a much larger and more passionate fan base. People all around the world, from Hong Kong to Paris to Sao Paulo, will passionately argue that the original is superior. And you know what? They might be right. Infernal Affairs is tighter, more elegant, and doesn't rely on Hollywood star power to tell its story. It's a masterclass in tension and moral ambiguity. The Departed takes that foundation and gives it a Boston gangster twist with Scorsese's signature style. Are they both great? Absolutely. But it's important to acknowledge that what finally won Scorsese his Oscar wasn't entirely his own creation. It was built on the brilliant foundation that Andrew Lau and Alan Mack created 5 years earlier. So here's my challenge to you. If you've only seen The Departed, go watch Infernal Affairs. And if you've only seen Infernal Affairs, give The Departed a shot. Then come back and let me know in the comments which one you prefer and why. I guarantee you'll have a strong opinion. And if you enjoyed this deep dive, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and drop a comment letting me know which fact blew your mind the most. Was it the improvised gun scene? The hidden X's? The fact that Nicholson refused to wear a Red Sox cap? Or maybe the fact that the global film community largely prefers the original? Keep watching, keep feeling, and never stop chasing the magic of cinema. I'll catch you in the next one.
They knew everything, all right? There was a leak from the inside. It's real, man. Smoke him out.
Yeah, I got a problem. I run rat f***s like you, okay? I don't like